What's up, everybody? And wow, it has been a little bit of a break. But we are here for our Falcon and the Winter Soldier kind of post-mortem. And post-mortem being in the sense like I know that's obviously like medical term, but in theater, you do a post-mortem after a show. Talk about what worked, what didn't, things like that. So this will not be a breakdown episode by episode by episode. We made that a conscious choice. Like the first episode happened, we kind of talked to each other and we're like, do we want to do a breakdown every week? And it just was like, nah, we'll do a post-mortem. But first of all, how are you doing tonight, Helen? You doing good?
Yeah, I'm great. I have mixed feelings about this show.
I do too, and I'm really looking forward to getting into it because you and I haven't talked about it. That's literally all we've said to each other is we
Yep.
have mixed feelings. So let's just kind of jump right into it. Like, kind of first of all, kind of first impressions, kind of what you were hoping the show was going to be, and just really anything, just kind of jumping off.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I think the show delivered exactly what it said on the tin.
Mm.
Um, in the same way that WandaVision did. Like, we went in expecting it's going to be a weird, many generations of television thing. Some wacky stuff's going to happen. With this one, it was like, it's going to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's going to be like mini action movies, like I would say like more like standard Marvel. And I think it definitely delivered that. How about you?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I do think it's interesting. Like, this was supposed to be the first one out of the gate, and I'm kind of glad it wasn't. I personally, my first kind of just overall feeling of the show, I felt it needed to be a few episodes longer. There are some great moments. There are some characters I care about. There are some characters I'm like, we really did not need that. And we'll break that down in a second. I think my biggest takeaway was I'm very happy that there's some very important and timely messages in this show that
Yeah.
need to be addressed. And what I liked was it's not like we're just going to skirt around it. It's like, here it is, front and
Yeah.
center. We are talking about this. And of course, people on Twitter are all uncomfortable. But I'm like, well, that's the point.
Yeah.
And I'm glad. And so any criticisms of the show is nothing to do with that message because I'm very happy it's there. Unfortunately, I feel the execution just seemed a bit hit or miss. And maybe that's just me as a viewer. Like with WandaVision and like The Mandalorian and things like that, the episodes were kind of self-contained, but then also did continue a narrative. But it was kind of a one and done. You knew this was the initial inciting incident, what's happening, the
Yeah.
rising, and the kind of conclusion. I know Mandalorian, it kind of was like after a while just seemed like, okay, what's the creature he's going to fight this time? And, oh, he's going on another fetch quest. But, and WandaVision was so different because we had different decades and things.
Yeah.
But I guess just like this, it didn't whet my appetite because it did. It was like, okay, this is just Marvel movies in a TV show format. And it didn't even like feel like we got left on cliffhangers at
It's
all.
it's really funny that you said that you think that it needed to be a couple of episodes longer because it feels like it could have also just been a movie.
Yeah.
Like if they'd cut out some of the stuff, like if they hadn't had all sorts of like mini bosses in there, which is what I call Buttrick the Leaper. But yeah, it's just it could have been. I'm glad it wasn't because I feel like a movie wouldn't have been able to do any of that Isaiah Bradley stuff.
Yes, which I
But
loved his character. Like,
oh yeah, like and I was sitting there going, "Who is this actor? I love him so much.
yes.
He makes me feel things."
Oh my god. Like, I'm sorry, we're gonna be jumping all over, but like when at the very end, when they have like the memorial to him
Yeah.
and like because that's also very Tuskegee Airmen and things like that in real life. I was actually tearing. I was sitting in bed like watching it, and just like sniffling. I was just like, okay, this is good. This is in the feels. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was that was a
And
very good moment.
it's one of those things where I'm glad they like diverged from the comics because
Mm,
in his comic run, it kind of ends in like a more bitter than sweet, bittersweet. And it's
hmm
just like oh, that sucks how that ends. Whereas
Yeah.
this one, it kind of felt like a little bit more hopeful. So I'm really glad they didn't do what they did in the comics.
Yes, because here on the place where streams come true, Helen is kind of our comic, you know, expert. This is why, I mean, unlike we've done several podcasts together, but like this is what I was really like, you know, the comic stuff. I don't. So
Yeah.
it's nice. We have like I'm definitely your MCU audience. You know,
Yeah.
you have all the backstory kind of stuff. But diving into that, let's talk about the characters.
Yes.
So some characters, there's definitely some deep cuts and things like that that you can kind of help with. But our first episode, we don't even meet the Flag Smashers yet until episode 2. But the first
Yeah.
episode, it pretty much was like what we saw in the promo material. Sam's flying around, you know, defeating some bosses kind of thing. And we're introduced to the characters escapes me, but he in the comics later becomes Falcon. But uh,
Torres.
thank you, Torres, and things like that. What did you think of Torres?
I thought he was what the first episode where he's just like sitting there in public just yelling about like there's
Yeah.
terrorists, you know? And it was just like, dude, keep your voice down. They're gonna hit. If look, you're just pointing out one of their bases. Like, just chill out. But like, and I think that was like me immediately. I was just like, oh, okay, so this is just gonna be a dumb show.
Well, I
Because it's
guess
just more of that.
yeah. Well, part of me was also like, I was like, oh, well, maybe I unfortunately see bad guys like. We'll talk about the power broker and how that was the biggest like, oh, who saw that coming?
I know.
But
It's like
oh
Agnes,
god,
though, right? It's one of those things where, like, the biggest twist that everyone saw coming. Like,
but that was
I don't think there
better.
was anyone who was going, "Oh, I wonder who it is." It was just like, well, nobody else has been introduced, and this universe doesn't allow for surprise people. Like, I
Yeah.
think the last time they did a surprise, it's not who you think it was the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, and we all know how that went down. Despite the fact that it's
Yes.
one of my favorite twists of all time in this stupid universe. Like, it's so good. And, oh, Tony Slattery, king of the world. Anyway.
Oh, speaking of which, slight side note: that trailer for I'm gonna butcher it. Is it Shang-Chi? Shang-Chi? I'm
Shang-Chi, yeah.
sorry, Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. I am so pumped for that,
Psyched, yeah.
and I cannot wait. And I think we should try to do like a talk about it afterwards. And
$100%.
I love how it's been set up from the beginning. Like you
Yeah.
want to talk about force, you know, that awesome. So I'm excited about that. But you know what? I think now that we've already again, this is a very fluid show, unlike our usual like WandaVision ones. Let's talk about the Peggy Carter thing because that got me. Like, one, it was obvious, and
Oh, you mean
two,
Sharon, right?
oh, that's what I meant. Sorry.
Yep, cool.
Yes,
I
sorry.
was just like,
Um,
Peggy was in this? Oh god, did I miss an episode?
no, no, that's me with like tired brain. But Sharon, yeah, I don't know how to feel.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think a lot of this show was setting stuff up for the future. And this is obviously a giant retrospective. It's not like the end episode is a big spoiler, but like that
Mm,
last post credits, where we kind of see that all being set up. It's like, okay, well, like this is obviously for future movies. It's like Julia Louis Dreyfus being in it. It's just like, well, this is clearly a setup for other movies. Like,
yeah.
there's a reason we're not hearing much about her. She's just there to set up US Agent.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's frustrating because like there was a lot of things that she was doing where I was just like, okay, I love her. I love her a lot right now. And she has some exceptional facial expressions when she's talking to them in her like Madripoor like lair. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. It felt like she was both there too much and also wasted.
Yeah, and I guess it's so funny because like they the first couple of episodes they're going on about this power broker. If I'm quite honest, we didn't even need that arc. Like I just don't see the purpose of it. Like it felt like there were some arcs that we were like, what was the point? Unless it's a lot of like this show is really kind of I'm hoping that
Yeah.
maybe there's gonna be some payoff or something, but it
Yeah.
just was like, I just looking back at that, that's why I wanted to get into the Sharon Carter. That it was just like, I didn't think that was necessary. We didn't need the power broker at all. Like, it didn't even move Zemo's character forward. Like, that's just me.
But
Anyway,
again, I
thoughts.
think it's literally because they need that, like, they're going to use her in the future, and if she suddenly goes from being like person who helped them to, "Ooh, she was secretly scary all along," people are going to be like, "Wait, what?" So they needed to kind of set it up here. They needed her to have like a reason to be hiding out in Madripoor and all this sort of stuff, which I have feelings about as well. Um, but like, I can I feel like I can see why they did it. I just think it was poorly executed.
Yeah. Again, it's kind of going down to that like execution bit again, because it's so hard. This show just like, I wanted it to be so good, and there's some fantastic moments like the fighting choreography. Let's talk about some good, because I
Yeah.
know like we're kind of, the fighting choreography is just awesome. Like,
Yeah.
from, and also just the usage of the wings and things like that. Like, it actually had a practical purpose. Like, the one that's just standing out, because obviously I watched the finale last night, is when he's taking the shield and bracing, and because Sam is not a super soldier, his wings plant
Yeah.
into the ground, and
Yeah.
oh, that was awesome.
And
Like,
also like to
oh
use the like little jet on his back to make punches stronger and things like that.
yes.
It's really cool. Yeah, it's a really awesome use of the suit.
What did you think of the final suit?
I mean, it looks comic accurate and amazing. I
I
was
am.
just like, that's basically the illustration.
Well, it's funny because, again, now this is coming from someone who is not a comic reader at
Yeah.
all. At first, I didn't like it. I didn't like the
Is
white
it because of
on
the
the.
bald head, like the non helmeted head? It looks really weird.
I think what it was, and I have to phrase this carefully, but it was the very vivid white. I was like, oh, I like costumes that are more like the subtle, darker tones, like Scarlet Witch things. But then it dawned on me, I'm like, that works with people with a lighter complexion. With a darker complexion, you need those kind of standout things. And then I also realized it's literally a throwback to like when he becomes Captain America in the comics. So I was
Yeah,
like,
it's
okay.
perfect. Like it's
It's the
so
ears.
good.
It's his ears sticking out. I don't, I get it because he has to fly, and the goggles, I
Yeah.
get it because he flies, but I'm just like, the ears, I'm just like,
Yeah, no, it's I don't know. I really really liked it, and I think the only thing I was like disappointed about with that outfit was that he did still have the wings, because I was really
yeah.
hoping that from that previous episode where he was like, "Oh, the wings don't work, just give them to Torres, whatever." I was like, "We're gonna get Torres. Is the person flying? Is it? Oh no, it's just
I
Falcon,
was
but he
thinking
looks
that.
amazing, so it's fine."
I was thinking that too because I was like, oh, they're setting it up,
Yeah,
And Taurus was one of those that was kind of brought in the very beginning, and so like I always watch like new rock stars and things like that with like the breakdowns. And that's kind of
yeah,
how I get my comic know-hows from either you or other
yeah,
great YouTube content creators. So I knew about Torres and how he eventually becomes the Falcon. So I appreciated that. I was like, oh,
yeah.
is this happening? But also, speaking of the final suit, when he opened the case, that very much looked like Captain Britain. Like, it looked like half of the Union Jack. Maybe that's my stupid American right there, but that case, when he opened it, it looked like, I don't know.
I think that was probably just a weird coincidence. I don't think Wakanda are going to be like, let's just include Britain in this. They
Oh,
seem to
was
have
it from
done a great
Wakanda?
job.
I didn't
Yeah, it
realize
was
this.
Bucky gave it to him. It was from Wakanda. The Wakandas gave it.
Okay, that I there we go. That was the
He
connection.
was
That was.
like, "Can you do me a favor?" And Io was like, what?" And then case.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that. It was from Wakanda. Speaking of which, now I can never say their names quite right, but the Dala Malarje.
Dora Milaje.
I'm so happy that they were
You're
in
so
this.
close.
Oh,
You were like
I
2 letters out.
I know it's Malage. I love that word. I just can never say it. Now that fighting choreography was beautiful, and those women are amazing. And actually, I am glad it was the lesser known character, which I'm sorry I don't remember her name.
Io.
Not not the I'm so sorry, I don't know these people's names. The main woman that was in like the
Okoye.
films. Thank you. See, this is why Helen is here. I know some people said Okoye should have been there, or it should have been T'Challa, but I will say what I like about the shows is it's giving the quote secondary characters their time to shine.
Yeah.
You know, Mandalorian is doing this with aliens that didn't get their time to shine in the movies. They're really showing up in the show. I view same with Marvel, so I'm actually very happy it was her.
Well,
And
it also shows that like it doesn't have to be the leader of the army doing everything every time. She can also delegate.
correct,
Like there are many of them, so why wouldn't you send somebody else off? Especially if it's just like this is just a straightforward retrieval of a person who needs to like get the fuck back in prison. That's
yes,
I like we have a vested interest in that for
yes,
legit reasons. Um, it was the right thing to do. I think Okoye would have maybe been overkill.
yeah. And I think it actually would have also overshadowed the other actors and things like
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Like it just. So I was so happy that fight, and I really like. Let's talk about Walker in a second, but I liked how that fight, I feel, sold his motivations to take the super serum. Like
Yeah.
I believed that, where he was just like, they were just normal people and I
Hmm.
couldn't defeat them. That sold it. Like Walker, I cannot believe there are people on the internet that like after he did it where he killed the person with the shield was like, this is what heroes should be. It's like, you're completely missing the point. However, I like the Walker character. I love that uh I really have bad brain tonight. The
Are you about
son.
to say Kurt Russell's son?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, God.
It's okay because I can read what you're about to say.
That like he was perfect and he sold that kind of transition from day one. I mean, even in the background, he's doing little ticks like he's got a headache and everything. And
Yeah, he went on such a journey. I loved him. Like the moment you saw him, and I think one of my favorite things about this has been articles about the show during the show.
yes.
So there was an interview with Wyatt Russell where he was just like, "I love that meme of the guy from Up wearing the Captain America outfit." That is absolutely right. That's exactly what it looks like. And I was just like, "Okay, great. He's got a sense of humor about it." And then
Yes.
there were all these articles being like, there's a reason you're not supposed to like John Walker. And it's like, yeah, it's not just because he's new Cap, it's because he's also a problem.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
just thought it was so funny, these articles where it was just like, no, no, it's okay. You're not supposed to like him.
Yeah.
It's
I
so
think that was the
funny.
other thing was for me, like with WandaVision, it felt like that the overall theme of that show was talking about how do you deal with grief.
Yeah.
This one, I said to you starting out, I thought it was going to be kind of how do you deal with expectations you put on yourself and expectations that are put on by others, because that was finding with Bucky, that was
Yeah.
with Sam, with Walker. You know, he's
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm kind of getting put in, but then it took a shift. And I think that's the other reason why maybe I'm having a problem with it, is it
I
didn't
don't
seem
know.
like a.
I
I could be
think you're
wrong.
absolutely right. I think that is kind of what it was because by the end of it, it's people kind of working out what to do with those expectations, right? Like Bucky had basically explained to him by Sam because he was not making any progress on his own. Like, no, 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 you need to do this in a different way. Like, this is how you. I'm sorry, there's a dog in the background.
That's fine.
um, but yeah, like you have to sort of approach it in a different way. And like Sam obviously has various expectations, and like even his sister, and weirdly, there's also like Zemo, who I could talk about for days. But like I feel like you're probably right about that. I think your instincts were correct.
Because I guess, yeah, now that I'm, first of all, thank you. I don't usually, I'm always like, oh, am I on the right track? But I guess also because there was that great kind of conversation with like Isaiah and Sam after he is, quote, Black Captain America, which I like, they kind of addressed that. There it's like, it needs to just be Captain America. Like, and this was obviously something that was a problem in the comics back in the day was it was like, oh, this is Black Captain America. This
Yeah.
is Black so-and-so. That doesn't need to happen now. And I think they kind of even did that like meta in universe at the end where the guy's
Uh,
like,
Black
this is Black
Falcon.
Falcon.
To be honest, that little interaction with him and the kid, where the kid was like, "It's Black Falcon," he was like, "What do I call you, Black Kid?" And
Yeah.
it was just so funny. Like, I was just like, I just enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think the thing about this show that was kind of frustrating is the the big stuff felt a little bit poorly executed, but then
Mm.
there are these little character moments, and you're just like, "Oh, that was so good.
Yeah.
I love that."
Like again, going
So
back to the Isaiah, like when we first meet him and like that anger, it was played so well. And the way he kind of just throws like a tin or
yeah,
whatever into the wall, and that like, oh, he's a super soldier. That was done beautifully. You could almost kind of tell what was done pre-pandemic and post-pandemic.
yeah,
Like, I mean, and I don't, I know we kind of talked about this briefly like several weeks ago. There's also kind of this rumor going around that there was another like subplot that was like taken out with the
yeah.
flag smashers and things. And there's great videos out there breaking down because some of the editing in the first episodes is a bit janky. Like, a lot of stuff is said off screen. Like
Yeah.
Peggy Carter is saying, I'm sorry. I'm gonna say Peggy, you're gonna know I mean Sharon.
You could just call her Sharon instead of going for her full name because
Yeah.
she's I never really think of her as like Sharon Carter as
Yeah.
like part of Peggy's family. It's just like that's Sharon. She's the odd one out of the
I actually
family.
remember that because that's one of the names people always call me when it's not my name. But Sharon, like, I don't even know where I was going with that now. But yeah.
You
I,
were talking about nice little character moments, and then Isaiah, and then
oh
Tin. Oh,
yes.
janky editing.
Yes. So there would be a lot of the lines that would be said like off
Yeah,
camera, or you could just tell were clearly ADR and a lot of the flag smasher stuff and like and also like Kelly Ehrman, I think I'm butchering her name too. I was so hopeful for her. Like I loved her in Solo. I love her. I want her to succeed. This character, unfortunately, there are moments, but I just didn't care. Like I wanted to care about her character and the flag smashers, and I felt like the last episode you actually got to see some of that passion. But again, I don't know if it's because the subplot was cut or
I
what. I
didn't.
just
Nah, I don't know. I feel like the issue with that character was that they gave her a really, really reasonable motivation that people would actually agree with, and then they were like, "Oh no, how do we make her bad guy? Blow up building, that make her bad guy." And it was just like,
yeah.
up until that point, I was like on her side. Like
Yeah,
she
me
had a
too.
perfectly good point.
Yeah. And again, and this is why it's one of those like, is this because they had to take it in a different direction kind of thing? Because
I don't
like,
know. There was someone on Twitter at one point who said something like, I would get behind Carly if she didn't sound like a kid complaining that she got too much homework."
oh,
And I don't know if it's I don't and like especially for me, I don't know if it's the accent, but I just couldn't take that seriously.
well, I guess part of me was like, also, she's still very young. I mean, the actress herself is 22, 23.
She looks exactly like the protagonist out of Horizon Zero Dawn, and I was like, "You're wasted in this. You should be doing a video game movie."
Yes, and yeah, we should start that petition if it hasn't been started already. But and I think that's also what I struggled with was why would someone this young have a following with people our age and older,
Yeah.
unless it was supposed to be. And apparently, that woman, Madanya, the one that they had the funeral
Yeah,
for,
Mama Danya, yeah.
Mama Danya, like is an actual like pedigree actress, and she literally just laid there on the table, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Like, it would have made more sense if it was kind of like a "you are my protege," and
Or even
here,
if it was like if it was Danya who was the leader because she had a cult following of all these people who she'd helped over time. Carly's just like, I turned up and now I'm in charge.
yeah, I
It
was
was
so
just
hyped when she got announced. And then like I loved the look, I loved like how like athletic she is and things, but I just felt bad. Yeah, after she kind of blew up the building, I was like, I don't care. Like,
I think about episode 3, I was like, she's gonna die at the end of this.
yeah,
She's not, as again, as lovely as the actress is, she was not strong enough to carry anything more than one film.
yeah.
But speaking of carrying more than one film, can we talk about Zemo?
Yes, of course. Let's
My
talk about Zemo.
favorite.
Because again, this show, I don't really know who he was. I mean, I kind of knew him from the films, but much like how WandaVision really made me care about Wanda and Vision,
Yeah.
Zemo, oh my
Oh,
god, the acting, he
what a
was
babe.
brilliant.
And like
Brilliant.
literally the moment he got in that ridiculous coat, I was just like, yes,
I want
I
that
am
coat.
here for this.
I want that coat.
And his
Well,
like
just
100-year-old butler who's just been waiting for him the whole time. I'm just on board with it. And it was just funny because people online, like, I'm fairly certain that in uh Civil War, he was called Baron Zemo. And
mm.
everyone was still like, he has money? Like, yeah, he's a baron. Baron isn't his first name. He's not a Trump. Baron is a title.
I just got that.
Come on. Like, his name is Baron Helmut Zemo.
Yeah, no, I
So,
knew
yeah, of
Baron
course
was
he's
a
got cash.
sorry, I knew Baron was a title. I had forgotten that Trump had named his son Baron. That's why I'm laughing. But yeah.
But yeah,
No,
like,
and
of course he does. Like, and like the whole exchange on the plane, like the one that's like a
oh,
meme now with like, he's out of line, but he's right.
yeah. Oh
And
my
he's just
god,
such
he
a
was
great. And like, I have great love for Daniel Bruhl anyway. He's just one of those guys who just turns up and just brings it. The articles during this have been amazing. The stories about him on set, love it. Yeah, people are kind of, I guess, like rediscovering him like outside of Europe, because like in Europe he's just he does everything. Like he voices half the like translated films like characters, and like
Oh really?
he's Lightning McQueen from Cars. I
Shut
thought that was so
up.
funny.
Is he
But yeah,
really?
like in the German version.
Yeah. That's
But he speaks
amazing.
like 6 languages, and he's just amazing. And I think it does kind of feel like people in America are just like, that's the guy who plays Nazis sometimes, and it's just like he has quite a backlog of incredible work.
Yeah. Like he was a breath of fresh air.
Loved
I mean,
him.
it was perfectly set
The
up him
dance,
reading. Yeah, oh, and I loved that they released like a longer version, but of course he's doing the Euro
I
trash
know,
like fist pumping dance, which I was
I
just
love
like,
him.
as someone who has now been in the European club scene, it's just so
Just
funny and so
perfect.
true.
Hmm.
But
I love that
he,
this is also like Eurotrash dancing in Madripoor, which is very much not European, but you know
yeah,
he just grew up in the European club scene.
yeah, exactly. But no, it's funny now that we're kind of talking about it and like breaking it down. Yeah, I can almost tell a shift when the show just wasn't working for me anymore. I loved it when he was in it. It was really after that. I think it was episode 4, 3, 4, where like when the guy took the super serum and the other guy got killed
I
and
think
things
it
like
was
and the
4.
more. I think it was 4. From 4, like episode 5 and 6, that's where it just kind of was like, we're doing this number.
It's just
But
Marvel movie.
yeah, but like he was perfect, and also talking about Machiavelli and things like that. Just his charisma, like he just oozed
Yeah.
charisma, and it was
And
actually
that little trio as well of their like just the back and forth between the 3 of them. Like it worked so much better when it was the 3 than when it was the 2.
yeah.
Like
I kind of almost wanted the whole show to be them. Like I think
yeah,
that's why I wish he hadn't have disappeared. And this is why I don't think Sharon needed to be in it, kind of
yeah.
thing. Like because it added too many dynamics, kind of thing. And he was brilliant though. And as someone again who wasn't massive about his character before the show, sold it. I also loved how we were seeing different kind of tactics. Using the Turkish delights, which I
Yeah.
absolutely love and never had until I moved to this country, but they're very nice, at least in a chocolate bar. But just kind of that he knew how to talk to the children, and which it was cool, kind of showing, look, there's more than one way to get information, and
Yeah.
I don't know, it just seemed on it, and I just
Yeah.
cannot put my finger on it. There was definitely a sudden shift that I was just like, what's happened? Like there
Yeah.
was like three montages in episode 5. Two of them training,
Yeah.
one building a boat.
Yeah.
Now, I will say the training montages then kind of sold the final fight because he was doing those moves.
Yeah.
And as someone pointed out on Twitter, it's purposely framed to where he is on the right side of or I guess screen left, but basically leaving room on your left still for Captain America when he's
Yeah.
training, which I was like, okay, I see you there.
Yeah.
But just some of that, I was like, do we need
The
that? Like,
I would have been very happy with a show that had no flag smashers, that was just they're dealing with like John Walker doing something
yeah,
random. I don't know. Leave that to writers. But I would have just been happy with just more of Sam and Bucky and the boat and Zemo just hanging out. I would have watched an entire episode of them fixing that boat and just being doofuses together, because like that the little montage where like Sam's trying to do things and Bucky's just like very easily picking things up, and it was just fun. Like there was a lot of like cute gags like that with like even Isaiah Bradley, like he goes to pick up like what you think is like a little tree, and then the camera like it comes into frame and it's like this huge tub and he's just like doop doop.
yeah,
There was a
exactly.
lot of little like gags about like strength like that, and I just really enjoyed those because they're just like cute little things that they don't have to do, but they do.
Yeah,
And even things like Bucky doing stuff with his right hand, because even though his
he's
left hand is the
right-handed.
big, strong, like metal arm, and like by the end where he's like got the arm out in front of people, and there was, and that was, oh, I've got so many things. That was something else. I understand that Bucky went on a journey, but I do not think that we got enough Bucky in this show. This was like Sam the movie.
Yeah.
And there was the part where the Dora Milaje like took his arm off.
Dude,
And
like
I
it
was
was like
like,
a Xena pressure point
and
thing.
I
It
was
was like,
like,
I was like,
first of all, wow, they apparently don't trust you enough that they actually put in a failsafe that means that they can just take that off you. And second of all, that's traumatic. Like
yeah,
for have
that's
someone
still,
have your prosthetic like taken off you without your consent, that's really traumatic. And it's just glazed over like, oh, he lost it. Okay, he's been disarmed, haha. Like it's just, I feel like that could have done with some time. Like
yeah,
someone could
like,
have brought that up.
yeah, because I
Like
mean,
first of
that
all, out
was,
of order. Second of all, you maybe want to uninstall that.
well, yeah, I wonder if it was trying to keep it like the macho hua hua, because, like, Sam comes up, goes, you all right? And he does his little, like, arm reset or whatever. He's like, yeah, I'm fine. Ugh. I'm just like, come on, like the first episode was great where we had the therapist scene, and it is an
Oh, she
extreme
sucked.
close-ups, and it made you uncomfortable, and that was the point because you were
She was
obviously,
a terrible therapist. Like every single thing she was doing was like all the things that you're supposed to not do as a therapist. She was just
yeah,
mean. I didn't like her.
yeah. But I will say the show made me really enjoy Bucky more. Like I didn't see the hype. Everyone's like, "Oh, Bucky." I was like, "Okay,"
I don't
but
know.
I guess because it was just like I didn't see him worth saving, which is funny because other characters I'm like, "Oh yeah, there's good in him. I believe it."
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
I'm a paradox in myself, but yeah,
I think there was like I say a lot of good little moments that were overshadowed on occasion by big meh moments.
yeah,
Like even just dumb things like in that finale, Bucky's on a motorcycle and he's going for it, and I was like, we've seen him do cool things with motorcycles in previous movies, and what does he do? He just crashes it into the thing and just goes flying, and I was like, you do what you gotta do, I guess. And I just thought that was so funny, and I didn't know if it was intentional, that it was supposed to be like, could be something cool. It isn't though.
yeah. I have a
But yeah,
question
it's
going
just
back to
go for it.
our John Walker, because someone did bring up an interesting point. Like I didn't like how they went about it, but they're like, oh, they're villainizing a war hero because he's a Medal of Honor holder, and that is
Mhm.
like the most prestigious. I don't know what the English equivalent is, but that is
I
the
understand what
most.
Medal of Honor is, don't worry.
Yeah, no worries. No, I'm just saying for like anybody in the audience, kind of thing. And sorry, former military kid here, but what did you think that he kind of redeemed a little bit? Like he didn't go completely off the deep end. Like obviously he went there
Yeah.
killing someone with Captain Shield, and that image is like, sure. But at the end, it's like, at first I thought when he was, basically melting his Medal of Honor on the shield, I thought it was like so he could be angry, but actually, it played to me like more of a remember, not to say a Lion King line, but remember who
Remember
you
who
are.
you are.
Sorry, as two people who actually worked on that film, it's kind of like trigger inducing, but like remember who you are. And I was like, okay, I kind of like this, but as someone who doesn't know his direction in the comics, anything like that, what is
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
Um, I have opinions about like the military in general, so we're not going to get into that. But I do think that it was the way that was introduced at the beginning with his wife, with Lamar.
Yes, Lamar.
I just fully brain farted then, sorry.
Yeah.
Um, who I think should have lived, but he didn't know. I think that would have been really cool if he'd been alive, but
Ooh.
he hadn't realized that he was actually still okay, and then he like came back later. That would have been so cool, but irrelevant. Anyway, John Walker. I think that the way he was introduced and the way that his the direction that he ended up going, um, all made perfect sense.
Mm,
Like, he is a guy who has been told, you are great, you are awesome, you did a load of good things for this country, therefore you are good and special and brave, and you deserve to be Captain America. And he's obviously expectations. He's got a lot of
mm.
expectations of what that role means.
Yes.
And obviously, of course, he's going to compare himself to the previous guy who had superpowers. You
Yeah.
can't not, even though he very clearly is trying to pretend he isn't. Um, I did think that it was an absolutely perfect moment when they sort of like revoked being Captain America from him, and he was like, "You made me, though." And I think, yeah, they have an army that's going out and doing things in like what was it? I think they said it was like Afghanistan, where like a whole bunch of people died, and that's where they got their medals of honor. But like, yeah, you made me go out and kill people, and now you're telling me that killing people is wrong because it's in a slightly different circumstance, even though I'm seeing them as identical circumstances.
Yeah.
I thought that was top notch. Like, I was like, yeah, that's pretty right. And like, I think what was quite I'm going to say nice is his when he got that US agent outfit, like, you can see there's like pride there. Like, he's still very clearly like, he hasn't gone fuck this country. He's gone like,
Correct.
no, I still really want to fight people for this country. How do I fight people without being told off for it?
Or being in a shadow, being cold in a shadow, basically.
Yeah, but
Like,
like, this is him intentionally going into the shadow
yeah.
rather than being cast on
Cast
him.
over him. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I knew that again from some of the breakdown videos I saw that like that is a character, so that's a fun little nod. The name's a bit funny, but yeah,
I mean, he is US agent. That's like,
yeah,
John Walker is US agent.
yeah,
And I think the moment he was introduced, it was like, so he's going to go from Cap to US
yeah,
agent. Cool. And like, the even again, the outfit, comic book
yeah,
gorgeous. It looks great on him. I think we're gonna obviously see more of him. We're gonna see more of Val, Julia Louis Dreyfus,
yeah. That was the other
who
thing. Like
just came out of
introducing
nowhere.
her like in episode 5, and we're like,
But
that's
that
another
was
big name.
But that's another one of those things where the pandemic screwed it because she was supposed to be introduced in Black Widow, which is coming out in July. So
Oh.
instead of it being like, here is a character, let's explain who she is, it was just like, hey, it's her again. And you're like, who?
Oh, I didn't realize
So
that.
yeah, like pandemic kind of like screwed with things a little bit.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, like
Damn you,
she's
Marvel, for getting everything so interconnected, and then a once in a lifetime pandemic
right
just screws
once in a
everything up.
generation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Once in a generation. Always happens on the 20s, which I found out. But anyway, I digress. This is not a pandemic podcast, but
Yeah,
okay,
it's
that makes sense.
yeah.
That makes because I was like, wow, this is a powerhouse. Why is she okay?
Yeah.
Okay, that all makes sense. This is why you are the brains and the beauty of the podcast.
This is why I do hard research.
Yes. um.
My
So
hobby
any
is research.
That's true. So, any other kind of thoughts or anything about Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Now, Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Which
Yeah, that
why
was
can't he
cute the way
just?
they
Yeah. Which why
went
can't he
on.
just be White Wolf? Why does he still have to keep the Winter Soldier title?
I think that might change. I don't
Mhm.
know if he would necessarily take up like White Wolf as like a proper like title.
Yeah.
Um I think he from the way he behaves, he maybe feels that's a bit presumptuous.
True.
um but um I feel like he carries the Winter Soldier with him, and he kind of probably feels like he will always be the Winter Soldier, so
Mm.
it's just gonna stick with him forever.
Plus, it's a
Um,
cooler name.
it's a really cool name.
Yeah.
Oh, he's great. But yeah, I think I by the end of this uh show, we had uh Sam is now Captain America. We have Zemo is on
In
the
prison.
raft, which is the most secure. Sure, he'll be out of there in like 10 minutes,
Yes.
with his butler on the outside who just does his bidding. And to be honest, I really, really enjoyed that little bait and switch with like, oh, one world, one people. Like, oh no, they're gonna get away.
Yeah.
Boom! I was like,
I did like
yes,
that. And actually, I
amazing.
didn't realize. I was like, who the hell's the old guy? And I'm like, and then I was like, oh, I would watch an Easter egg video. I was like, oh, it's Zemo's butler. This is what
I
happens when you only
literally
watch it once through.
like I saw him and I was like, that's Zemo's elderly butler. But I just loved it so much. But yeah, so we've got like Zemo is now in a more accessible location, let's say,
Mhm.
because again, raft sucks. We've got because there's so many people who are on the raft now, like it's just all
It's
full
like
of
the Arkham
supervillains.
Asylum of Marvel,
That's what it
basically.
is, yeah. Then you've got Sharon is now within the government again, so she now has access to a whole bunch of things. So that's setting a bunch of things up. U.S.
Yeah.
agent now exists. We've got Val and her like shady cabal of nonsense going on. Like it's set up a whole bunch of things.
Mm.
So I'm kind of like and also like Isaiah Bradley's grandson.
Yes.
Like that could be fun if they do start like pulling stuff together for a Young Avengers for him
I
to like come back
really
into it.
I think they are because this is now the second show out of what we've had so far
Yeah.
that there are young Avengers in there. First,
Yeah.
you got
So
Wanda's kids, and now him. It's like,
yeah. And we obviously do have Hawkeye coming up, so we'll have Kate Bishop. We've got there's a whole bunch of little things. Don't see anything going on with Loki, but who knows? Um it's a mystery with that show so far.
I already have a
Um
prediction on what the theme for that show will be. I've been saying one's about
oh
grief,
yeah.
what's about expectations. I think not literally the phrase time management, but kind of like it's going to be that moral dilemma. If you could turn, oh
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
like the song, if you could turn back time, would you or would you not, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
that's the thing is like I think he's under duress to turn
yeah,
back time to fix things. But yeah, like I'm really psyched for that one.
yeah.
But yeah, like it's set up a whole bunch of things that I now can see coming up in different places. um so yeah, I'm interested to see what comes next. I feel like this was a necessary show to set up all of those things that they're going to require in Phase 4 and beyond. Because I feel like we could probably there's a chance we could get a US Agent movie. There's a chance that, because I mean, we've got so many things coming up. We've got, you know, Secret Invasion, we've got Armor Wars, we've got all sorts of things. I'm intrigued to see sort of how the things that are being set up now get used in those future shows.
Yeah. Guess we will see, and
we will see,
and we will certainly be here to talk about that
yes.
and this. So, well, thank you for kind of checking out this kind of postmortem of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think next we have Loki as the next one.
Yeah.
Okay. I cannot wait for What If, because as you and I both being fans of Spider-Man and Into the Spider-Verse, also talking about animation, it's so pumped and exciting.
So many exciting things. Like, there's been leaked concept art, which means my boy Ultron might be back. Oh yes,
nice. So I really can't wait, and I think that's a great way to do kind of alternate universes, and obviously that works within the Marvel sphere. I know people are wanting that in the Star Wars universe. I'm like, no, but Marvel, yes.
Yeah.
So, Helen, where can they find you and us?
So, I am at Ketsi Aita N on Twitter. You can find us at Pending Final Podcast on Instagram, and at oh my god, what is it?
You just did Pending Final.
Pending Final, oh my god.
That's a blast from the past. I'm keeping that in.
Oh no. Yeah, we're streams_CT on Twitter. Wow.
This is what happens when you have several podcasts.
Yeah.
And then you can find me at Twitter as well, at Shenanigen, spelled with an E-N. And I promise I'm not this brain dead, but no, this has been great. And I guess we will see you guys in the summer for when Loki comes around. So not sure. Yeah. I think we might be doing an every episode. Again, it's going to be one of those, I think we will, but it's like, let's see how we feel. But I have a feeling that this one's going to be more mystery box and like, what does it mean? Like WandaVision was. So kind of fits a more weekly speculation. Because like, I'm really glad if we tried to speculate for this show, I'd be like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah.
So, well, this is the place where streams come true, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.